Now, we know a lot about Modern Warfare 2, from gameplay teases to general information. We've got a lot under our belts already ahead of Call of Duty Next. There is, however, a few things that we still don't quite know of just yet, and one of them is a question that I keep seeing on socials and think we should chat about today and hopefully maybe set expectations that won't leave players disappointed if it doesn't work out as such. Today, we're taking a look at one of the key fundamentals and how, based off of the past few years, we probably won't see it reverted in a truly game-changing way just yet. So as we go along, drop your thoughts below. Are you hoping to see any changes made in Modern Warfare 2? Are you hoping to see any classic systems in place, or are you fine with what we've seen recently? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts below, but if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date with all things Modern Warfare 2. We're just 10 days away from Call of Duty Next and the multiplayer reveal, among other things, as well as 11 days away from being able to play the game for ourselves with the multiplayer beta. So if you'd like to stay up to date with all the content up until then, and we'll be streaming at Call of Duty Next and getting content ready to go for the reveal and the beta, I'd love to have you in the community. For now though, let's take a look at a system we may want to curb our expectations for in Modern Warfare 2. Today we're talking about the hopes of the classic prestige system returning. This is something that the last few years hasn't quite been what the community has ended up wanting, and we touched on it recently in a video where we talked about the prospect of hopefully Modern Warfare 2 having a reasonable and worthwhile progression system in multiplayer. Now, Modern Warfare 2019, by direct comparison to the last Infinity Ward project, to me that was probably the worst leveling system we've had in my opinion. 1 to 55 at your base, sure, but then only 100 levels every single season that was capped. You couldn't do anything else, right? It offered up zero incentive to really play or progress past that 155 cap, which you couldn't even do each season. So, albeit I still don't think it's great, but the last 2 years with the chase towards level 1000 after those checkpoints and dubbed prestiges of the seasonal leveling system, that at least made playing a little bit more worthwhile. A lot of the grinders may hit level 1000, but for the most part, after 100 levels, you won't be capped. You'll still have something to do if you're a more casual player. But the seasonal system as a whole just hasn't been a fan favorite. And it seems like recently that we've heard much more cries for the traditional prestige system to return, but the question is, will it ever? A simple race to 10 prestiges or so, and maybe upwards of level 1000 afterwards, like we had seen in Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, Modern Warfare Remastered, COD World War II, and Black Ops 4. Now, where this hope comes from, just beyond the interest of seeing it return in Modern Warfare 2, is stemming from some blog posts for Modern Warfare 2, especially the ones where they talk about pre-orders of the games. They all mention the bonuses you can get depending on the version of the game, but for the Vault Edition, there's a description that states a few additional bonuses that you'll get at launch, including get 10 hours of double XP tokens and 10 hours of double weapon XP tokens for use in Modern Warfare 2. Then also, race to prestige and level up your favorite weapons. They can be used in the new Call of Duty Warzone 2.0 once it launches later this year. So, the race to prestige, huh? That was something that from a marketing perspective was a thing that happened every single year way back in the day, but it's also what a lot of people have been holding out hope for from the beginning. I've seen just recently a resurgence in comments over on Reddit, Twitter, sometimes even in the comments of these videos, and while I would really love for these systems to go back in place to air quote normal for the classic prestige systems, I'm not sure that we can get our hopes up just yet, and here's why. Just from a one-to-one comparison side, we've kind of seen this recently happen, like within the last few years and this seasonal leveling system already being in place. Prior mentions of prestige has already been something to describe the systems we've seen the last 3 years. The one that stands out to me is Black Ops Cold War. That game was the one that introduced us to the new air quote prestige mixed with the seasonal system we had for Modern Warfare 2019, and on launch day, there was a blog post that talked about the progression towards prestige, a prestige primer as it was called, where the word prestige was used 35 times in that guide alone. So the word prestige doesn't necessarily carry the same weight as to the one-to-one comparison we had of the prior classic prestige system. However, when you look a bit deeper, even beyond the one-to-one wording comparison, the likelihood of it coming back becomes more and more slim the more you think about it. Call of Duty's main target the last 3 years has been to increase player retention, most of which through the means that have been attempted haven't been super well liked. Skill-based matchmaking, that seasonal prestige system, it's all been a way for Call of Duty to keep players on the game as long as possible. Now, matchmaking is a different beast altogether and a different conversation we can have for a different day. Depending on when this video goes up, we've either already talked about it a bit more at length in a wish list video, or it might be coming up here on the channel shortly thereafter. Not sure when this video goes up. But the seasonal prestige system introduced through the last 2 years, and that seasonal system as a whole, it was meant to be a way to entice players to come back, where you had something new to work towards every single season. And in theory, I get where that sentiment came from, but in all actuality, especially from the vocal community, the grinders, it kind of works oppositely, where the thought process turns from, okay, cool, I can rank something up again, to why should I rank something up again if it's going to reset in 2 months? It's kind of this double-edged sword, but in my perspective, I again think that it could have been done better, making the retention organic and warranted. In that wishlist video that we mentioned, I likened the Titanium Trials event from the last season of Warzone to a great way to get retention in that game, but in a more organic way, something that was a bit more meaningful. You had your event rewards, sure, but you also had that hardcore grind for a secret camo that really wasn't listed anywhere and was locked behind 20 wins in a 2-week span. It was a lot of grinding to do, but if you really wanted it, you stayed on the game for hours a day and you got it. That was something that really incentivized you to stay on the game. But with Call of Duty's obsession over increasing playtimes, the standard prestige system to me seems all but unobtainable in my books for this upcoming year. And also from a base perspective, you also have to think about these connected experiences that are now being built out. I don't want to throw Warzone under the bus because I know a lot of people already are kind of bitter of the takeover of the Call of Duty brand that Warzone has had in the last couple of years. But if you think about this, the casual player, it already takes ages to level all your weapons up as is, getting them to usable and viable states so that you have all the attachments you need to make them pretty good in the Warzone experience where everything is transferable and everything is linked. Now imagine you have to do that, but if you prestige, it relocks everything so that the player has to unlock it again just to end up getting those weapons, not even continuing that grind further for the weapon attachments. So that's something that just doesn't really make sense for the casual audience there in that regard. And so again, catering to that, I don't think they're really going to bring it back as such. While we may look at prestiging as a fun thing to start over with, that weapon unlock grind would hinder a ton of players. So now that turns to, well, is there any hope whatsoever? And listen, I don't want to sound like a downer or anything like that. None of this has ever been confirmed, and I even don't think we've seen any leaks or anything to indicate one way or the other from insiders even, but it's all assumption based on precedent. So absolutely something could change, but the way that I see this now, I personally am curbing my expectations, and it might be something that may be helpful for some in the community as well. When we think about this new era of Call of Duty, yes, maybe they absolutely introduced a new progression system. And honestly, what better time would there be to do it other than now on a fresh restart? But we just do not know. I think there are definitely ways that they could implement it that it would work, maybe like a hybrid system of the prestige system and seasonal system, but on a fundamental basis. And what I mean by that is that you keep your level 1 to 55 or whatever that base is, where you have all your unlocks for your weapons, perks, streaks, equipment, field upgrades, and all. You unlock those one time, never have to worry about them again, and then you can enter prestige. And maybe from there, each prestige reset doesn't happen automatically with each season. Instead, is controlled by you, the player, but instead of like 1 to 50, it's a 1 to 100 prestige or something like that, with more overall, 20 or 30 prestiges with level caps of 100 to enter prestige the next time, and then after prestige 30 or so, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 levels to grind out beyond that, maybe with no cap for those that really want to grind all year, so that maybe those that really are hardcore grinders get through prestige 30 and master prestige to like 5,000, 6,000, something like that. Kind of a mashup of all the systems we've seen over the last few years. But again, I'm not too hopeful for that just yet. Either way, we likely won't know until closer to launch, not even the beta here. Betas historically have simply been your base levels, how you'd see those enlisted or military ranks of description the last few years, where it's level 1 to 55, and you're just unlocking your basic stuff. And honestly, even at that point, our beta's probably only going to have a level cap of level 30 or 35, so we're still a ways off from even remotely having the faintest idea of how the prestige system, if we can call it that, will work going forward. That's something that likely won't be described until much later on, closer to launch. But while I wouldn't give up hope just yet, I mean, there absolutely still is the possibility for change. I definitely would curb my enthusiasms to not get my hopes up to the point of being disappointed if it doesn't happen. So that said, I wanted to chat with you guys here about this and give my thoughts and feedback on it, so feel free to drop yours down below. Would you guys like to see the classic prestige system return? Are you guys happy with the seasonal prestige system right now? Would you like to see a mashup of the two like we just described? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you guys enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing running all things Call of Duty. Again, we're going to be at COD Next in what is now next week, which is kind of weird to consider, but we'll be breaking down everything here for you, getting everything ready to go so that you're in the know with absolutely everything. If you'd like to join the community, I'd love to have you. So that said, thanks so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.